Well, it looks like we've got some good news as woke gaming continues to die. This time on the docket is Mortal Kombat 1. Probably the most disappointing fighting game to ever be made, particularly when it comes to the NRS era of Mortal Kombat. Now, for those who have watched a few of my videos know that Mortal Kombat is one of my favorite games of all time. I adore the franchise, and I adore it as a fighting game. It is the game that got me into fighting games, it is the game that keeps me into fighting games, and it is one that I have bought every single title that I could as soon as I could. Even going to the point of going and getting an illegal key for Mortal Kombat 9 so I could finally replay as the proper human Cyrax after what they did to him in the disgusting addition to Khaos Reigns. But it looks like I'm not the only person who's upset by the state of Khaos Reigns, as apparently it sold like shit. It seems Khaos Reigns sold so poorly that they have decided to cancel all upcoming and future DLC and story missions. Even to the point of canceling Kombat Pack 3, which is coming after a major leaker had made the announcement that there was no Khaos Reigns 2, or whatever else the next story DLC would be, and the Kombat Pack is probably being cancelled because of how atrociously it sold. And if you're chasing die-hard Mortal Kombat fans like me away with the stuff you're putting into Khaos Reigns, it's no shocker you're chasing everyone away when it comes to Khaos Reigns. As even looking at the Steam numbers show you exactly how poorly Khaos Reigns was received, to the point that Mortal Kombat 11 has more people playing it on Steam at any given moment than Mortal Kombat 1 does. But without further ado, let's actually check out what the leaker said. Coming from Insider Gamer, written by Mike Straw, future Mortal Kombat 1 DLC cancelled after poor expansion sales, it's claimed. And this claim is coming from the known and reputable Mortal Kombat 1 leaker Fate Unknown, who posted on Reddit that the cancellations happened recently after the Khaos Reigns expansion sold poorly. Now, it is important to note that we are still getting 2 new DLC characters into Mortal Kombat 1 before Kombat Pack 2 comes to an end, and that includes Conan the Barbarian, the Arnold Schwarzenegger version, as I have right here, and also the T-1000 from Terminator 2, though the T-1000 makes 0 sense, given we had the T-800 in Mortal Kombat 11, why not keep them in the same game, where that would be infinitely more interesting. Also rumored from Fate Unknown is there's a possibility of a cameo 2 who have already been heavily developed coming into the game, though the fact that we never even got the announcements of new cameos for Kombat Pack 2 is part of the reason I'm sure most people decided not to buy it. Now, what's even more concerning about this whole announcement, it makes this leak a little questionable, but I'm inclined to believe it. But the reason this leak is a little questionable is that recently Warner Bros. Showed commitment to the Mortal Kombat series when CEO David Zaslav said that future game development efforts were going to be focused on its core franchises, with Mortal Kombat being listed among them. The other core franchises were DC, specifically Batman, Game of Thrones, and Hogwarts Legacy as the other 3 key franchises aside of Mortal Kombat they are going to focus in on. Now, admittedly, this article was very bland and left out a lot of information, so let's go over to Bounding Into the Comics, who usually does a very good job of reporting on this stuff. Warner Bros. Allegedly canceling future Mortal Kombat 1 story and character DLC plans due to poor sales of Khaos Reigns expansion pack, written by Spencer Bakuli. Now, I will give this article some props. This one is actually a lot more of an engaging article, saying things like, according to a new whisper from the Outer Rims of Earthrealm, though it doesn't really make sense if you're a fan of Mortal Kombat, because Earthrealm is just Earth, but whatever. It's far more engaging and actually says at least they have a little bit of knowledge about what they're writing about as opposed to that other article. Now, word of this apparent DLC fatality, another little Mortal Kombat-ism that makes this article a bit more enjoyable to read, was first raised to the public on November 25th, courtesy of u/Fate Unknown, or user Fate Unknown, a noted Mortal Kombat 1 specific Reddit scooper whose track record includes the accurate leaking of Li Mei's return as a fighter, because no one actually thought Li Mei would come back because she's kind of stupid. That Kenshi would both appear and have his eyesight restored. He didn't quite have his eyesight restored, and the game's dropping of the franchise's crypt mode, which was a devastating change to the game that killed a lot of the interest and a lot of the lifespan of the game, because there's nothing to grind out anymore other than those stupid mesas that everybody hates, because you're spending more time walking and loading than you are fighting. Amidst a conversation on the r/Mortal Kombat League subreddit centered on the speculation by YouTuber Interloco that the next DLC character set, or Combat Pack as the game colloquially refers to them, could likely see the addition of MK fighters Jade, Jarek, Blaze, and the cybernetic Triborg, as well as the titular heroine of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Marvel Comics Wolverine to the game's roster. Now, before I continue on, that's a pretty shit leak, I'm not gonna lie. Don't get me wrong, Jade coming back would be pretty cool. Actually, no, I hate Jade because she's overpowered in every game. They can't seem to balance her, and if they could, they clearly don't care to. But Jarek and Blaze coming back, I've never played a Mortal Kombat game that actually has them featured, which it's kind of sad on my part. I should probably remedy that at some point. But the fact that we haven't seen those characters in so long, it would be amazing to get them back into the game. Especially because that is one of the few points of praise I have for Mortal Kombat 1, is that they brought back so many of the older, left on the cutting room floor characters back into the game, both as cameos and as playable characters. But the inclusion of Triborg makes no sense, because the point of Triborg is it is the assimilation of the programming for Cyrex, Sector, Sub-Zero, and Smoke. The Cyber Initiative hasn't happened in Mortal Kombat yet, unless of course the next DLC is going to be actually creating the Cyber Initiative, which would also be a pretty dumb thing to do in a DLC expansion instead of an actual story game. And then Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Warner Bros. I believe owns Buffy, so that one I can kind of see, but you'd be hard stretched to make her have a roundabout enough of a moveset to justify it. And then Marvel Comics Wolverine, I highly doubt they would ever be fine putting Wolverine into a competitor's game. Responding to the opening post, Fate Unknown simply asserted it is not, and when pressed for details as to whether there was even going to be a Comeback 3, the scooper bluntly added no. Gotta love when someone just... amazing communication skills, almost as great as C9 MSK's communication. When pressed on the matter, Fate Unknown made a statement that Combat Pack 3 and a second story expansion were planned, all cancelled recently, and no more characters after Combat Pack 2. A cameo or two might make it since there has been work done on them, but I don't know yet. Thanks for any info. Any days why they were cancelled? And Fate Unknown simply responds, Khaos Reigns sold poorly, which makes complete sense, and I 100% believe that accusation that it sold poorly. Now, the reason I say that it's very likely that Khaos Reigns sold poorly is, well, to put it simply, we never heard how well Khaos Reigns sold. As to put it simply, they simply never made a statement as to whether or not the DLC was a success. Warner Bros. Is in dire straits. They have had fail after fail after fail, and all of their successes they have ignored entirely. So when they get a win, it's very obvious that they would go out of their way to brag about said win. But the fact that they had nothing to brag about at all goes to show that most likely Khaos Reigns did terrible. Now, Aftermath also was never truly bragged about online that I can see, though I could be wrong on that. I just didn't find anyone looking it up. But that doesn't mean that Aftermath also sold well. But to consider as well, Khaos Reigns was significantly more expensive, and Aftermath didn't do anything to piss off the audience. Another major point of comparison between the two games is Mortal Kombat 1. When you look at their SteamDB player count, 1,986 players and a 2,080 24-hour peak, compared to Mortal Kombat 11's 1,200 active and 2,100 peak, meaning that while Mortal Kombat 1 has more people playing it currently, MK11 has significantly better numbers overall. Also, if we compare the 1 week charts, you can see that Mortal Kombat 11 seems to have higher peaks, although Mortal Kombat 1 seems to have wider play times. And then the final piece of evidence that SteamDB is amazingly giving us the ability to look at when in regards to Mortal Kombat 1 and its success, and I want to be very clear before I continue. I understand that Steam is not fully representative of the fighting game market. Most fighting game players play on console, and I fully acknowledge that, but the point is, this is a representative sample. If this is what the numbers look like on Steam, it is pretty easy to extrapolate these numbers to be representative of other consoles, simply on a smaller scale. As gamers typically have similar playing habits regardless of what they're playing on, though the choice of game might vary. But when it comes to a fighting game, if people are playing fighting games this regularly, then it is easy to assume that these are similar numbers to that of on console. Though that is speculative, because Xbox and Sony do not release player numbers, though it would be pretty cool if they did. Now let's get back to the actual point. If you look at the player numbers, as I said, it's fairly consistent. It's not great, but it's consistent, accounting for dips in daytime cycles. We extrapolated out to a month. Here's when Ghostface released, and we can see that there was a massive spike that immediately started to taper off the day after. Go back 3 months, and we can actually count for when Khaos Reigns came out, as Khaos Reigns came out on September 24th. And here you can see that there was a massive spike from 1,300 players at any given moment to 5,000 players at any given moment, and then tapering down incredibly quickly, almost to the pre-release numbers, only a little bit higher, only a couple days after the release of Khaos Reigns. And that continues to this spike right here with Ghostface release. Go back to 6 months beforehand. Once again, Here is Khaos Reigns. Here's the release of Takeda. Here's the release of... I want to say that's Homelander, but I could be mistaken on that. Going out to the 1 year mark, here's where it was at in March, and going all the way down here. As you can see, there was still just a massive fall off. I'm not quite sure who released in March. I want to say that would have been Ermac, and that would make sense if this was Ermac's release, because Ermac was a massive release who did amazing during this game. Though I could be mistaken on the exact timeline. Going out to the maximum time here we have the release of the game. And then if you come all the way over here, down here is Khaos Reigns' release. And as you can see, it never came anywhere close to even getting the release numbers, meaning that the people who played Mortal Kombat when it first came out, who even played it a lot when it came out, did not do anything whatsoever to come back. Khaos Reigns did not draw people back to the game, so that's pretty obvious evidence that this game sold poorly. And as I said, that's not entirely representative of the console market, but it's pretty easy to say that this could easily be a sample of what that audience would look like. And I'm willing to bet that it's relatively consistent across all platforms, although the numbers are likely significantly higher on console. Now, released on September 24th, it's MK1's second overall DLC offering. The Khaos Reigns expansion not only brought with it a new arena, skins, fighters, including Noob Saibot, the current female incarnations of Cyrax and Sector, Scream's Ghostface, Terminator's T-1000, and the cinematic Arnold Schwarzenegger's version of Conan the Barbarian, but also several new story chapters which pick up in the immediate aftermath of the game's main plot and see Liu Kang and crew banding together to protect their timeline from a villainous multiversal variant of Havoc. God, the story was terrible. I didn't play it because I wasn't going to drop $50 on a DLC that pissed me off. I instead took that money and spent significantly less to get a Steam code for Mortal Kombat 9. A far, far better purchase, believe me. Bakuli continues, while these offerings in and of themselves were fairly par for the course when it came to Mortal Kombat's franchise's usual post-release support, the same could not be said for the expansion's price tag, which came in at a whopping $50 United States dollars, meaning that players are expected to pay nearly as much as they would for the base game, while only receiving less than a third of its content. And here's the thing. Aftermath for Mortal Kombat 11 was $40. It included, I believe, 6 fighters instead of 5 fighters. It included more maps, and the story was longer and better written, because you actually got to explore various things, and you got to make story decisions based on how you wanted the last mission to go. Also, the fighter slate for Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath was a significantly better slate than we got for Mortal Kombat 1. Then there's also considering the fact that the timeline for Mortal Kombat 1, they are dragging it out as much as possible. It took almost a year for the entirety of Combat Pack 1 to be released. That means we were waiting a year for each DLC fighter to finally come to us that we paid for when we bought the game. As I was getting ready to end this video and started editing, it looks like we have another leak coming out from Fate Unknown, who has made an official statement on what Combat Pack 3 was supposed to be. And like I said, Fate Unknown has been fairly consistent and correct in his predictions in the past, or his leaks. So let's see what this one is. Hello, you may have seen recently I gave the news that MK1 DLC has been cancelled. This has spread further than the MK community and I do not want the attention, so I'm stepping away from the leaking. I was going to stay around until Conan and T-1000 were done, but I'm going to end it now. I will not have info on future NRS games. For my final post, here is the further info about the cancelled DLC. First, Khaos Reigns sales were not only the reason, there were multiple reasons the team was pushed to move on, but the sales were just the big reason. The NRS team really wanted to do the DLC and are not happy about it, but they have no choice. Second, I do not know what the story stuff would have been. It did not make it far enough for me to learn anything about the details, sorry. Third, the final Combat Pack was meant to be 6 characters, 5 Mortal Kombat and 1 guest. Less guests due to a lot of reasons, but mostly as a thank you to MK fans for sticking with the game. The MK characters were Jade, Cassie, Kung Jin, Sonya, and Kano. I do not know the guests, but I am told they wanted to get a highly requested character. This is all, goodbye everyone. So I don't know if I fully believe that he's stepping away, or maybe he's just stepping away because this is a little too highbrow and they probably found out who it is. So he probably won't be able to report on Mortal Kombat and NRS because he's probably going to get fired for getting a little too caught. And well, I guess this isn't a terrible list. Jade, of course, classic. She was the most requested for this game to come back because everyone loves Jade because, well, let's be honest. The Gooners love Jade because she's incredibly hot. And then the women love Jade because she's incredibly hot. And she's also generally overpowered in how she's built. Cassie is the favorite of NRS. NRS treats Cassie as their golden child. They love her as their favorite combat kid. I'm shocked they're bringing Kung Jin back, because Kung Jin was generally hated in Mortal Kombat X, though I personally would have loved to see what they did with him in Mortal Kombat 1, because I figured they'd build him similar to that of Oliver Queen or Green Arrow in Injustice 2, who is one of my favorites in that game. Sonya coming back and Kano coming back makes sense, because how can you bring one and not the other? They're nemesises of each other, and well, they fit together very well. Also, they're two of the most highly beloved NetherRealm characters, and it would bring back Special Forces and Black Dragon members back into this game, which this game was sorely missing. As for the guest character, I'm not entirely certain who it could be. The most anticipated guest characters that I can think of are Ash Williams, but that has been shut down thoroughly enough, and then the other one, maybe Doom Guy, which I guess would make sense, because Xbox is releasing a new Doom game as we speak. The one thing that I am shocked by is the fact that Jackie Briggs isn't on this list, because the only thing NRS loves more than Cassie is Jackie, because not only have they put her into every single game since her release, except for Mortal Kombat 1, they've also made her unbelievably overpowered in every single one of the games, and never bothered to actually balance her. So really, the only one of these that's any kind of loss is the loss of Kung Jin. Sucks to be him, but I guess that's what you get for being the first canonical gay Mortal Kombat character. And as a final note in regards to this, there is also the claim from Ed Boon, who claims to confirm more characters and cameos after Khaos Reigns. And again, we're going to continue doing more updates, more skins, more cameos, and more characters and stuff like that. And well, I'm not questioning whether or not Ed Boon said that, and whether or not Ed Boon believes that, but I can say with certainty that he's lying. Ed Boon is a liar. He lies to people all the time about Mortal Kombat and Injustice. He's done it non-stop his entire career, but especially over the last few years. And well, let me be clear, I don't know if I'm saying that Ed Boon is a liar, or if Ed Boon simply doesn't know, but to take Ed Boon's word as gospel would be like taking Joel Osteen as the authority on what God believes, or taking Joe Biden on wherever we are located at that given moment. You're gonna get the wrong information 9 out of 10 times. So while this could be a claim, and I could fully believe that maybe Ed Boon believes we're gonna keep getting more and more stuff, this doesn't prove anything, because Ed Boon has shown himself to not be a reliable source when it comes to Mortal Kombat information. And let's be honest, that's part of the reason we love Ed Boon. He is the definitive troll. So while many players may have been interested in seeing Conan drive his sword through Goro's forearm torso. Okay, but Cooley, this is a great article. I love ya. Goro is not playable in Mortal Kombat 1. He's a background character and a cameo. Conan would never fight Goro in Mortal Kombat 1. Just a simple thing that you should be aware of. And to a lesser but still somewhat significant extent, NetherRealm's creative decisions, such as their attempt to sell the idea that the normal human Ghostface could survive in a tournament of superhuman fighters, and their gender swapping of Cyrix and Sector, appears to have turned players off from checking out the Khaos Reigns expansion. Okay, I will now talk about why Khaos Reigns most likely failed. And it's not because of Ghostface. Don't get me wrong, when I saw Ghostface, my first thought was, what the hell is Ghostface going to do? But at the same time, I was excited to see what they do, and I'm actually kind of happy with how they made Ghostface work. Yes, you do play as the normal Ghostface, the klutz who can't really do anything of value in his life, who's a really shitty killer, who's just a butt of every joke, but he has incorporated 2 other Mortal Kombat tournament alumni to come and join him underneath the Ghostface mask and cloak. As you watch this playthrough, you can see that there are 2 different Mortal Kombat characters from the 3D era who worked under the Black Dragon, aka their version of the Mafia, basically, who are black market weapons dealers who sell to Outworld for as much of a profit as possible. And you can see that these people are also underneath the cowl of Ghostface. So when you're playing as Ghostface, yes, Billy can't really do much, but when you switch to the different Ghostface fighters, you get the ability to use magic tools to do significantly more impressive things. In fact, of the DLC fighters offered, I would be willing to bet that Conan was the one that did the most damage to this game, because, let's be honest, the people who are playing Mortal Kombat don't have a clue who Conan the Barbarian is. But now, if they chose Red Sonja and kept her comic accurate, I don't think anyone would be complaining about that choice. Especially if they kept her outfit comic accurate, though let's be honest, Mortal Kombat 1 can't do that, and that leads me into the significantly more severe problems with this DLC expansion. First off, Cyrix and Sector being gender swapped and then being made into horrendous characters. So, Sector is a cruel man whose father is the leader of the Lin Kuei, the ninja assassin group that Sub-Zero works under. So the obvious choice when making this DLC is to turn him from a bloodthirsty man who's willing to sacrifice anything to become the greatest assassin, to the point of turning himself into a brainless cyborg robot with the only goal to follow his directives and kill anyone he must. Obviously, we should take that character and turn into a woman who's in love with Sub-Zero, because that makes a lot of sense, totally. Okay, whatever. Then we take Cyrax, who is the yellow cyborg, who is an African man, and we're going to take him, get rid of his good accent, and give him the most offensive, most stereotypical, can only be described as a Wakandan accent, because it literally sounds like it came out of Black Panther 2. And then, to top it all off, we're going to change their movesets completely, so these characters are completely devoid of the identity that made people love them so much. These characters are Sector and Cyrax in name only, and in color only. They're not cyborgs, or people using mechanical weapons, they're Iron Man knockoffs. I wish I was kidding. Sector's fatal blow is literally her grabbing you and flying you to outer space, freezing, and you get to see the Jarvis overlay as if it's friggin' Iron Man. It's completely devoid of any kind of inspiration or quality or respect of the core material. And it's that lack of respect for the material that Mortal Kombat is adapting that is the real problem. It took Havoc, an actually intimidating monstrous being who is a man hellbent on spreading chaos everywhere, and turned him into a raver with a bad haircut. Thanks, Mortal Kombat. And let's not even get into what they did to the other characters in the base game. They made all the villainous women no longer villainous. They justified all of them. Nitara's not a bad vampire who just has a bad actress. Now she's a bad acted vampire who's just trying to save her people from their lack of resources and the fact they're allergic to the sun. She's so justified. Melina, she's not an evil demon clone. Nope, she is the Empress, the twin sister of Kitana now, and, well, is simply infected by Tarkat, and it's not her fault she's evil, because it can't be a woman's fault if they're evil. And of course, the men are all mustache-twirling, comically evil villains, and while I can't complain about that for Shang Tsung, it is an issue when you consider the rest of the franchise and how it completely destroys and devoids the game of any of its more interesting villains, because let's be honest, none of the bad guys in this game were at all interesting. And now I know what your keyboards are typing away. It's not woke, you're just saying that because it doesn't have women you can goon to, or whatever the hell you keyboard warriors want to say. That's not true. I don't give a crap about that. But yes, it is an issue that you took a game that's rated R and made the game less R-rated because you don't want to offend keyboard warriors who aren't going to play your game anyway. The fact that the only attractive female character in this game is Sindel, who's like 50 years old, is... well, it says a ton about the people who work over at Mortal Kombat, and especially says a lot about the lead designer of the game, who has run every single combat cast in the last 3 years. Who, if you aren't aware, is a person who goes by the name of Stephanie, who just so happens to have an Adam's apple and a few more things between their legs. And isn't even subtle about it, who came out during the Mortal Kombat 11 combat casts, and coincidentally, the more that Stephanie appeared in things, the more the quality went down, and the less attractive the female characters got. All while maintaining the attractiveness of the male characters. And understand, this isn't an issue of, I just want a goon. It's more that I want equal treatment amongst the characters. If it's going to be a fighting game, particularly one that prides itself on the sexuality of the characters, why is it that we are devoiding half of the characters of their sexuality? The male characters are still smoking hot. Have you seen Johnny Cage? Kenshi is unrivaled in this game, design-wise at least. Reptile, how do you take a man who's half lizard and make him hot? But the fact that we can't have that same treatment for everyone in this game is a major point of concern, but it makes it all too clear when you have to realize that because of people like this, you've got to keep the game safe horny. Though I guess there is one tiny silver lining in all of this, in the fact that they have announced that there might be an upcoming game coming after Mortal Kombat 1's development ends. As Ed Boon had made a tweet where he had said that NetherRealm had been working on its next game even before Mortal Kombat 1 was released. Now, I'm personally hoping that that means we get Injustice 3. I really like the Injustice game style, and the fact that Injustice has built-in combos for every single character that you can easily telegraph. They're weak if you know how to spot them, but they're good for new players as a way to learn how to juggle properly. Also, I just like the way that the Injustice storyline goes, but of course, what am I saying? I can't be excited because, well, this is what happened to Mortal Kombat. What are they going to do with the already ideologically captured DC? Especially since we know some of the things that have been said from... and because the game is lacking any of the input from Mike S. Miller, aka Blacklist Universe, who is the writer for Injustice 1, who was the artist for Injustice 1, and had put in a lot of input into Injustice 2 that was all turned down and led to the horrendous state of Injustice 2. But I digress. That game was fun, the story was but they really should never brought Brainiac in, but at least it's better than the Injustice cartoon. But anyway, enough rambling. It is absolutely devastating to see the state that Mortal Kombat is in. Since I've been a diehard fan of Mortal Kombat since I played Mortal Kombat 9 as a child, yes, I'm a little too young to have played any of the 3D era games, though eventually I will get my hand on them and then we'll play them. But like I said, I've been a huge fan since Mortal Kombat 9. I've read the Mortal Kombat X comics at least twice, and one day I will own a physical version of them if I can ever find any. And while I will not be buying Khaos Reigns until it's at least $20, if not lower than that, though someday I will probably buy it just because I do like Mortal Kombat as a franchise, and I will be following the next games closely, it's still up to debate whether or not I will ever actually bother to buy another NetherRealm Studio product at launch, given how badly they've screwed the pooch in the last couple of releases. But that's pretty much all I've got. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all this. Did you buy Khaos Reigns? Did you enjoy it? Do you think I'm off my rocker when I complain about the wokeness in this game, or do you think I'm spot on? And I will see you guys on the next one.